Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Rumors of Heresy. My name is Zareth, and we've got to face Tau in this latest battle report, folks. I'm on a 9-match winning streak, and Tau are my least favorite opponents, at least traditionally. They used to exist in 6th edition, so we don't have that excuse of not knowing how they play, but they just shoot you until either they just collapse in exhaustion and don't give you a good fight and you just like win by default, or they shoot you until you can't hold the objectives and you just kind of wither and die, and it's miserable and it's not fun one way or another. So we've got to beat these guys. We're prepping for a tournament I just signed up for. Let's get going. Just a quick reminder, folks, as well, if you could please hit that thumbs up button, subscribe. Even if you're not good, you can turn off notifications. It would still really help the numbers, help the algorithm for this channel, and then make comments on comments. It all really helps get more publicity to this. If you want more battle reports like this, especially give me feedback. Use the comments to give me feedback on things that I'm doing good, things I'm not doing great. Would really appreciate it, guys. Thank you all so much. Please enjoy this video. Today we're going to be focusing on a little ritual, which is the one where we create our own objectives, and this is a tournament mission, so we need to be practicing this. I'm practicing to go to a grand tournament in October, so we've got to get some practice in, even if it is against Tau, and we create our own objectives. It's like Build-A-Bear except for objectives. Yay! And you can see, I do want to draw your attention here, folks, for 1 second to the little sidebar. You can see we've added the primary objective, deployment, and terrain layout, and I will continue to do that. And in fact, it gets a little nicer afterward. I'm constantly trying to find ways to up the production value and consistently bring you a nicer product. I would love to hear your comments and feedback, productive, of course, in the feedback in the comments section, but I would really appreciate that, folks. I really would. So please, we're trying to make a good product here. How can we do a better job of it? I would love to hear some respectful feedback. There, it's a little nicer. Can you see? Now, my opponent did win the defender and first turn moves, and he deployed some pathfinders, so he thought he was going to totally block me from deploying my infiltrators, which the joke was on him because the infiltrators just get to go in the back and block his suits from destroying me from behind. Here are my nice glowy blue objectives. Instead of the little circles that I used that were yellow, just like the horrifying and abominable Tau. Because if you ever had a bummer and you're like, I don't really know what's going on, and then you think about it a little more, and you realize it's because you're playing against Tau, that's kind of what's going on here. In fact, that's 100% of what's going on here. But at least the little circles for the objectives is nicer now. My opponent placed a lot of... He's just got a lot of stuff, man. Like, don't you think they have better things to do than to mess with the Salamanders? I don't get it, man. You can find my list in the video description in explicit detail, like explicit to a point. Like, it's still safe for YouTube, so don't worry about that. But my opponent has 2 Devilfish with Breachers in them, which is a unit that didn't used to exist in 6th edition. He had 2 Skyray gunships, 2 Riptides, and a Hammerhead, not to mention 3 squads of stealth suits, some Pathfinders. He had Dark Strider, which is a character apparently. He had a Crutox, and they just both sat like lumps in the back zone the whole game. Not to give you spoilers, but then there's reserves, which is a commander with 3 plasma suits. I don't know exactly what they're called. They just had plasma guns and they destroyed everything and didn't get hot. Like, what the hell, man? Play by the rules. And then Farsight with another 3 suits. A horrifying prospect to face, folks. Lots of shooting, but I do love this Pariah Nexus terrain because there's a lot of cool stuff that we can manage with this. Now, I don't know why I put the slide here, but my reserves were 5 jump pack intercessors. So that does exist, though we talk about my deployment a little later. Here is his back line, just so you have a little better view of what's going on here. It's a whole mess, folks. Who let the Tau even land? Dude, like it's oppressive. So here's my deployment zone, a straight yellow line to keep away the other yellow the yellow tide. That's what we're gonna call them, folks. Ugh. So you'll note I just kind of traced the outlines of this building just so you can see like that. This is one thing I love about the terrain in 10th edition is you can just have terrain that completely blocks line of sight, and this building is right in the center and it's blocking his line of sight to me. Of course, he has one that is blocking ours to him, but our game is much more of a mid-game in mid-range fight, so I don't mind being able to thwart his long-range firepower. Here's what my deployment was specifically. We have one squad of jump intercessors in reserve, like I said before. Then we have 5 intercessors, 5 infiltrators, and then in Furnace, you guys can read it in the video description if you so desire. But we've got the Repulsor Executioner with Eradicators. Folks, I have the new tank in hand. It's so exciting to be able to play with it finally. A really fun tank, really cool looking. My paint guy is really good at what he does, and I'm excited, guys. We're starting to get the army painted, but I guess that doesn't really factor in all of the cool tactical things that we have to discuss here and now. Okay, so we're facing Tau. Tau will delete you if they can see you. They have a lot of really strong shooting, and so we need to stay away from their line of sight. The nice thing is we have Pariah Nexus terrain, which is wonderful. We can stay away from them if we kind of are very careful. So we need to do that. And in some ways we have an advantage. Like we only have 2 vehicles, and he has 7. 7 you can't hide all of. You can hide 2 of them, even if they're big vehicles like I have. So we need to keep our vehicles alive because they're going to be impactful. And we need to also put some pressure on the center, folks. They're not going to want to stand on objectives because they just melt. That's the other thing about Tau. They can't stand up to any pressure. They'll just die. And so pressuring the center is going to be awesome. And if he wants to dump his guys in the objectives, we need to have a way to kind of dump them off if possible. So we need to do it. Make them pay for it. He has 2 suit squads that are going to be deep striking. They want to come and just delete our back zone, which we don't want to happen. I happen to have infiltrators and we have our intercessor squad. We can keep that back zone tightened up and make it so that they can't actually get there, and that's going to be a really important factor as well. Keep our back zone secure, which is a thing that we should be striving to do even if we're not playing 40k. My opponent started by drawing Assassination and Containment, which Containment is very easy to accomplish on turn 1. Assassination, significantly more difficult. If he could kill one of our characters in turn 1, I was going to be very impressed indeed. So here's his original deployment zone, including his reserves, a reminder of it. So he moved up just a little bit. In fact, it was fairly aggressive. You can see that devilfish with the breachers there, right in front of our fancy schmancy ruin that I had highlighted previously. His pathfinders were scrambling for cover because they were scared. And his stealth suits were just kind of stealthing about, containing things, creating objectives. No one even saw them do those things. They're very stealthy and suity. They're impressive little chaps, aren't they? My opponent scored 6 on containment, which was fairly predictable. And of course, he couldn't score on primary. He turned assassination into CP. And they did kill a couple Marines. Nothing too catastrophic. Salamanders turn 1. We also got an assassination, so huge bummer. Extend battle lines, something we can interact with. Let's see. Okay, so they were kind of both passive and aggressive here. A lot of stuff hung back, a lot of things advanced. So you can see they've got cover and support for each other in the form of shooting with this little fire corridor area, and we gotta be careful about that firing lane. But the big thing is, folks, the Tau are trying to jam us into our deployment zone, which we can't do, and they've kind of gotten really close. And I don't know what's up with this new edition. Everyone's just balls to the wall. They just want to jam people in the deployment zone. We have to fight our way out, or we're going to stop being able to score. So let's do that. So at the start of your turn, it's good to see what the lanes of fire are going to be, because they can just delete you, especially these really shooting intensive teams. Where is going to be safe to put your extremely important models? So you can see this line here that, he can't really shoot the Land Raider with anything effective if I don't drive past that line. Similarly, you can see why I deployed the Repulsor Executioner the way I did, was to avoid him being able to get some cross-the-table firing solutions on me. We can actually just hide. But then all we need to do is roll up just a tiny bit to have a nice scope on everything along that firing lane. So you can see we moved the Repulsor up a bit. And the Land Raider stayed behind the line. It towed the line. The Infernus advanced, which is a nice thing about Salamanders. You can just advance and then you can still shoot. And so we got an extra like 4 inches, 3 inches, something like that. And then torched all 10 Pathfinders. It was fantastic. The Jump Intercessors prepared to try to charge. There's some stealth suits in that ruin. It was kind of a long charge, maybe like get to roll a 7 or 8. Nothing too crazy, but either that or they could just stage for next turn. Nothing too crazy. And then you can see the Repulsor is going to draw a line on that Sky Ray. And I put Oath of Moment on the guy. And we shot, I think maybe I re-rolled one of the shots to be able to do damage, because it's a 3-up penetrate, or sorry, 3-up to wound on that tank, and we just one-shot the guy. I think I needed to roll like a 6 to destroy it, so nothing too crazy, but it did die. That felt nice. Good firing lane. The Vanguard Vets created an objective where this little arrow is pointing. You guys can look for it. And the Jump Intercessors decided to charge the Devilfish. I didn't want a bunch of breachers just getting out and breaching me. It seems ill-advised at best. So, charged in. The other Jump Intercessors actually got the charge off and hit the stealth suits. I wasn't going to re-roll it or anything, even if I could, but I got the charge, so that is an interesting way to exert pressure. And you can see we're fighting the stealth suits on the bottom, we're fighting the Devilfish up top, and the Devilfish exploded. We had it wrapped, and I forgot about that rule, but he had to do an emergency disembarkation, and I think he only rolled on 5s and 6s or 1s and 2s, something like that. And so I think, isn't it supposed to be 4 plus? It doesn't matter. One way or another, many breachers died. The Devilfish died. The stealth suits died. Lots of carnage. That's wonderful. I'm not even Karn, but that's okay. So I scored 5 out of 5 on Extend Battle Lines because I controlled objectives in places that needed controlling, and we went to from 5 to 6. I mean, that's the score, 5 to 6, going into the next round. Now, turn 2, my opponent drew Established Locus and Extend Battle Lines, both pretty achievable. We've both been getting decent secondaries so far. Now, here's what the board looked like to begin, and I don't remember how it happened exactly, but it just so transpired that my Jump Intercessors, surprisingly, with an entire huge half of the Tau force right in front of it with no cover whatsoever, they got smushed and they died. It was horrible. Now, the commander suit did come in from reserves, and you see all of those ugly jump packs will eventually be green on different models, but these are just the stand-in proxies. Well, immediate death. Those plasmas were not messing around at all. I think the Riptide also contributed to the death and destruction, but man, it was impressive how easily they deleted that squad. I didn't really help things by rolling pretty poorly, but I didn't need to roll that poorly. Those plasma guns are really amazing, in fact. And just like that, his turn was over. He just sat there and shot. His breachers also climbed into the middle objective, by the way. And they were doing some kind of, I think they were doing the locust thing, is what I think they were doing. Which is fine. They control that objective. And they didn't score anything this time, I believe. Yeah, because I killed the guys who were controlling his newly created objective. So he got established locust, he got extend battle lines, he went up to 13, but he didn't score any on primary, which was nice. That felt nice. My secondaries were secure no man's land and storm hostile objective, which is great because we got some breachers on that objective. These are perfect secondaries to draw in tandem with each other if you have something to take over. Jeez, man. I don't think I've ever seen anything delete that Intercessor Squad so quickly. It was actually very impressive and annoying, but also impressive. And oh man, okay, so here's the it's pretty simple, folks. We've got a couple things to do. We've got to keep killing the Tau that keep coming up to us. We've got breachers we got to take out in the middle objective. We've got Riptide. We've got those commander suits. All of it. It's like if your mom was feeding you a churro and you couldn't use your hands, and you just have to keep eating it as she continued feeding it to you until it was all gone, and hopefully it didn't choke you, and that's basically what's going on here. He just keeps feeding us troops. We've got to continue to take them out and eventually, hopefully, be done with them and have our own initiative to do what we want with the battlefield. The second one that we need to do is secure the really easy secondaries. Need to focus on that too. That's an important aspect of winning. Alright, this is what's going to be called the Turn of the Invulnerable save. Horrifying luck on my opponent's side. As you'll see, the Infernus moved up to take the middle objective. They were going to stand on the objective and then spray the breachers with flames until the breachers were just splashing around in puddles of their own ashes. Gosh, that's morbid. The Land Raider also moved up a little bit. We're gonna have to expose it a little bit this turn. There's not really an option here. The Executioner shot its weapons at the Riptide, and there were other shots that happened, but one way or another, we were able to do 2 wounds to the Riptide, and it saved both of them. Yay, I was so happy. Just so happy. The Eradicators got out of Land Raider, so did the Blade Guard. Blade Guard getting ready to assault the Riptide. Eradicators ready to assault the Riptide's armor with their Melta. One of the Riptides, or one of the Meltas, got through and did a pretty nice chunk of damage. In fact, 8 damage. Yes! We also managed to just melt those suits, folks. We did a ton of wounds on the suits with the Redeemer, and we managed to kill all of the points on the suits except for 1 damage point, 1 wound on the 7 wound commander. Oh, the Riptide, we got at least 1 more wound with our multi-melta from the Land Raider, and it saved another invulnerable save. It was just insane, folks. And so the Blade Guard had a really tough decision ahead of them. They could either charge and get the charge on the Riptide really easily. They needed like a 5 to get there. I could do a command reroll. It was going to be fine. But if they wanted to also get the commander's suit, they wouldn't be able to. Well, I mean, they might, but you have to roll an 8, and even with a reroll, that's a little too dicey. I needed that Riptide to die right now. That thing needed to be gone. And so the Blade Guard just charged the Riptide, and once they killed the Riptide, they chopped him into tiny little pieces, which was wonderful. They were able to consolidate into the commander, which meant he didn't have anything that could withdraw from combat and then move and shoot as usual. So I was at least going to waste one of its shooting phases, which would have to be sufficient. We did use Crucible of Battle to kill that Riptide, by the way. Crucible of Battle being something that you can use in your shooting or your fight phase, and you're able to get +1 to wound on all of your models. So we did pretty well there. The Blade Guard were doing well, you know, the Adrax gives them the reroll to wound, all of that stuff. And yeah, we took it out pretty easily. I think Adrax just finished it, actually. I don't think the Blade Guard actually did anything other than consolidate into the commander, which was useful of them. And of course the Infernus did just torch those Breachers. And so we killed the Riptide, killed the Breachers, killed 3 of the suits, and almost killed the commander. If he hadn't saved so many invulnerable saves, it was like 5 out of 6 or something this turn, the Riptide would have died way easier, and that commander suit would easily have been picked up as well. So we still did good, though. We secured no man's land, we stormed a hostile objective, and we even scored 5 on our primary, which is not the very best, but at least we started scoring on it. So we jump up to 19 at the end of turn 2. My opponent ended up with Defend Stronghold, which is very accomplishable, and Engage on all fronts, which is less accomplishable, if that is a word, which I doubt. My opponent did score primary this time, I believe. I think he did. Good for him. He scored one of his primaries, yeah, the one that he created, and the Land Raider Redeemer was exposed. Of course it was. And so I was going to pop smoke, and I was going to put up my Armor of Contempt. Of course I would. Spent both of my CP on it, and the Hammerhead missed its shot, which one of the things was, yes, it was marker lighted, or whatever it's called now, but I increased its difficulty to hit me by a 1, which meant he needed a 3 to hit me. He rolled a 2, then he rolled a 1, and I felt awesome about that. Of course, he rolled just to see what his damage would have been on the Land Raider, and it would have been a 6. He would have done 12 damage. He would have almost, in 3/4 of its life, just done with that Hammerhead, but didn't do anything. The commander fell back, and Farsight and his 3 plasma suits jumped in. Just pretend like those little glowy circles are your friends, and your friends are named Farsight and 3 crisis suits that don't have names. And yeah, you can see Farsight was even very helpful. He was like, "Hi, I'm Farsight." And then he killed all of the Blade Guard and Adrax instantly, horrifically, and he was like, "Corpsed." It was horrific, folks. It was downright dastardly. And then that was it for him. He scored Defend Stronghold, or at least he was going to next turn, probably, maybe, depends on what I choose to do. And so he kind of jumped up to 19, 21. I can do math, folks, don't worry. It just takes a while to get there. And okay, so this is what he had at the start of the game. It's just chaos, I realize. And this is what he was kind of down to. So we're kind of chipping away. Kind of nice. And we did score, I think we scored 10 on primaries this time, which was great. We got Sabotage, we got Containment. Those are things we can do. So, what else can we do? Well, our poor Blade Guard deserved better, I have to say. Poor little guys. But all of their reserves are in now, which means we can take care of things, and we don't have to protect the back zone as crazily as we were, though the infiltrators were fine just hanging out in that little ruin. They'd already started playing poker. They'd started a fire. They had some s'mores. It was nice. They said it was nice, at least. They didn't invite me. I'm sorry. But you can see we're containing our opponent, actually. You can see, like, they kept, like, the churro is gone, right? And now we can actually start really pushing. And because if they destroy our stuff, that's fine if it's in their zone, because we're just going to be scoring in our zone. So let's just, but we can still roll up and still do some damage anyways. It was sad to lose our 2 really nice units. Like, they just died, man. Like, the Blade Guard, it was even worse than the other guys, the Intercessors. Like, the Intercessors died so bad, I've already forgotten exactly what they were called. The Blade Guard and Adrax, man. Poor guys. Poor guys, but they're in a little box now, guys. We're controlling the field, which is good. Let's just do the best we can, which is very trite to say out loud, and I kind of regret saying it. So we still have our Vanguard veterans, which jumped off of the objective at home, or at least the one that we created. So the Infernus were going to need to hold 2 objectives, and they were also going to need to be busy fellows and sabotage the building they were standing in that was our home base. So that was safe of them. It passed OSHA standards, I hear, though I don't know what that means exactly. Our infiltrators are containing things. Our jump pack intercessors from reserves are containing things. They like to contain things. They can hold cookies as well. And our repulsor advanced. I think I needed a 3 to get past that little terrain feature, but you can see we have line of sight to his hammerhead now. So you can see the little box. I made an approximation of where that repulsor was. We managed to get past the little obstacle thing, and then eradicators got out and everything from the executioner shot, and we just easily completely obliterated the stupid hammerhead. I also used my anti-tank shots, or sorry, my anti-fly shots from the executioner on the Skyray guy because he's flying. It's ironic. Flyers killing flyers. So we got him though. We did like 4, I think, damage to the Skyray as well. Though that's not enough to kill it, but we did do some damage. Land Raider Crusader, which was also actually a Redeemer, moved up and started flaming and shooting everything it could get a line of sight to, including the suits and everything, trying to get some revenge for Adrax and his blade guards who died so ignominiously. I'm sorry for pronouncing it very poorly indeed. The Vanguard veterans could have charged the objective. I considered doing that, but I decided the Riptide is doing some tremendous and impressive damage. Why don't we just try to kill it? So we used Immolation Protocols, which normally costs 2 CP, but because we have a captain, it cost 1, and we did 8 mortal wounds to the fellow. And then we charged. To take a break from that madness, we have the Land Raider Redeemer, who was able to torch all 3 crisis suits and do 2 damage to Farsight as well, and used his other shots to kill the 1 wound commander. Pretty impressive stuff, to be honest, because it was his weapons that killed the last suits as well. He killed at least 7 suits here, 7.5 if you count that half of Farsight. Meanwhile, down south, I even gave them Crucible of Battle, folks. I gave them +1 to wound. There's 6 strength on the charge, 4 attacks each. Oath of Moment. Oh no, that was on the hammerhead because we needed to kill it. But he rolled well. I rolled very poorly. I think it was more of a function of me rolling poorly. He stayed with 1 wound, though he didn't do any damage to me in the short term. The Riptide also, I should note, failed its battle shock test, so it couldn't score the objective on his turn when it was about to start, which was horrible for him, wonderful for us. Got 6 of 6 on containment, 3 of 6 on sabotage, because it's not as easy as I used to think it was. I have a couple battle reports previously where sabotage was 6 out of 6 because I didn't realize one of them had to be in the enemy's deployment zone, but we got through it. We got 9 this turn. We went up to 38, folks. At this point, my opponent couldn't even score on his main objective because we had battle shocked the stupid Riptide into being battle shocked, and he didn't have much left. He still had some stuff. I'm sure he could have hurt me a little bit, but that hammerhead going away, the Riptide was just about to get destroyed. All of the suits were destroyed. The Land Raider was about to just pulverize all the things. It was over. So we called it, because why do we need to grind each other's faces in defeat? Don't answer that out loud. Alright, so we got the win. This is win number 10 in a row, folks. I lost my first match, which is actually against Tau. But then I beat that same guy a little bit ago. I didn't want to show the battle report because it wasn't flattering for him, honestly. And that's not a brag. It's just we're moving up, guys. We're starting to learn some stuff. And my opponent was great. Really enjoyed my game against Steven. Thank you so much for helping me. I'm still trying to get some of the rules down, and he was very patient and very understanding. We both had a really, I think he enjoyed the game. I hope he did. It was a really good game, and I'm sure it's gonna go differently next time. But one way or another, I hope he stops playing Tau, because what kind of a frustrating army is that? 38 to 21. We actually ran a couple, like we talked about what would have happened and scored for ourselves and stuff. And so I think if you ever see my own records of this game, from the app that I was using, it might look a little bit more lopsided or something, but that was just because we were both projecting what might have happened. Anyways, what might have happened, or what might have we learned here? First off, if we can keep our tanks alive, which isn't always a guarantee, but if I kind of, just really focus on keeping them alive, then they can do a lot of stuff. Using Oath of Moment on the Repulsor Executioner's target has been so clutch, and then using a command reroll for wound if I need to, getting 2 big hits, doing 2d6 plus 8 damage to any vehicle is just so brutal sometimes, guys. It's a lot. It's a whole lot. 10 minimum damage if you can make it happen. And if they don't have an invulnerable save, it just kind of happens. And both of the tanks have just been going on a total rampage lately. It's a lot of fun, and that's part of why Salamanders are fun, because they can advance. Even the tanks get to advance and still shoot. You get that extra movement, which is really nice sometimes. Now, pretending the back zone is really nice. Using the infiltrators and the intercessors to kind of make a big, awkward bubble. I'm still not very well versed in it. I need to get models with bigger base sizes so I can practice it, and we will be able to actually protect a bigger portion of the board if that actually happens. I think I'm using too small of bases right now because I'm from 6th edition. Hello, I'm from 6th edition. Mucho gusto. So I think one of the things that has been helping me win, folks, and I'm going to actually make a video next. The next video I make is going to be why I think this list is working. And I know it's an analysis piece by a guy who's only been playing for about a month back into it, but I do think there are some things. One of it is we can use almost every aspect of this entire list every single turn. Maybe not every aspect, but we're able to use a huge portion of it. And if you can use your whole list, that's wonderful. Instead of just having something sit back that's kind of valuable and not actually do anything, it's nice, folks. It's really nice. So for news, you can see last week they looked like this is in the last week's video. We had the jump chaplain, or the jump captain, and 6 eradicators. And now they're ready, guys. They're done. My painting guy has finished them. That's exciting. And another piece of news is I signed up for a Rogue Trader tournament, folks. It's the Denver 40k Fight Club in October, on October 5th, which is coming up 3 weeks from now, folks. And I'm going to put a link to the event in the video description. I don't know if you'll care about that or whatever. You could go and look at the final results. You don't actually know my real name. I'll tell you guys once it's time. I'm also going to start a Twitter account or an Instagram account. Let me know in the comments which one you would prefer to follow along with if that's something you would be interested in. And my painting guy is going to need to be on top of things. We've talked about it. He's up to it. I'm excited about it, in fact, because his stuff is so nice. I even bought a Land Raider Redeemer, even though I already have one and it's even painted. His stuff is so nice that thing is kind of a centerpiece of the army. I don't want it to look dull and awful compared to the vibrant, amazing color scheme that he's already created. So we'll have a full army, guys, in about 3 weeks. We can stop having proxies, including we don't have to use those beast pack models as eradicators. I'm so excited to stop apologizing to my opponents for proxies. So excited, folks. Finally, this is all building up for an actual grand tournament in October. And so we'll do the RTT. We'll take a break, take a breather, and then jump into the October Open, which is 6 games, should be fun. Also planning other events, should be fun as well, but we'll talk about all that later, folks. I'm excited. We're almost past the, like, okay, we're still learning, gotta figure things out, don't have a full army. We can actually jump into tournament mode, which is exciting. We can start making tournament reports, which are gonna be exciting as well, I hope. I am done now. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Please remember to like, subscribe, comment if you haven't already. It would mean the world to me. And remember that if you didn't hear it from me, it's probably heresy.